Hello and welcome to Courtlough. My name is Norman and I'm going to show you how to clean a gun today. Okay, so what we have here is a lovely Beretta DT10. It's an excellent gun and we're going to go through the processes involved and the techniques involved with cleaning a gun. Okay, now you'll want to clean your gun after every couple of hundred rounds or so, or if it gets wet in the rain. Rain and guns do not mix. Okay, so after it gets rain on it, you want to clean it well. First of all, we're going to go through what we're going to use. We're going to use some Brunnock spray. This is a solvent and it's also a lubricant. It does everything in one. We have some Schmear Fix. This is a grease and we're going to use that as well. We have our brushes, copper bristled brush, and we also have a soft headed brush for polishing. And we have a couple of cloths and we have some patches as well. Okay, so starting off, we'll want to disassemble the gun. As you can see, the gun is already disassembled. And we'll get our Brunnock spray and we want to apply it to all the areas where the burnt on carbon are going to be. Okay, so we're talking about the action here on the gun, along here, around your ejectors, and also down the barrels of your gun. Okay, so this works in two ways. First of all, it's a chemical reaction, and secondly, it's also a physical action. So when you're scrubbing it, the two together are going to remove your burnt on carbon. And anywhere there's metal, you'll want to be using this spray. Anywhere there's wood, you want to avoid. You don't want this on your wood, okay? Just on the metal, okay? After you leave it for a while then, okay, it's soaked in and it's kind of doing its chemical action. You get a clean cloth like this and you just rub everywhere there's metal, okay? So all in here, all along the face of the firing pins, you can see the burnt on carbon being removed, and that's coming up nice and clean. Down here by the hinge, you've got some old grease. This is where you grease it for the action opening and closing of the gun. You want to kind of clean all of that off as well and remove all the old substances. Everything you find that's old on this gun. Old grease, old oil, old burnt carbon, you want to remove. You can turn the patch inside out and give it a good dry clean all over. Just like so, okay? Then, while that's kind of mellowing into the barrels, you can take your copper-headed brush. Copper is a nice soft metal, so it's not going to do any damage to your steel barrels. And you want to push it all the way through, okay? You never want to stop the brush halfway down the barrel and change direction. Just push it all the way through until it comes out the other side. And I always push from the way the shotgun pellets come out of the gun. I always push from breech to muzzle, all right? And this is just loosening up all that kind of burnt on carbon that's in your barrels, okay? You can put it up to the light, you can actually see it's already done a great job already. Next then, you'll want to get your cloth, you want to wrap it around these copper bristles, okay? This is like a flannel patch. This is going to remove a lot of that burnt on carbon, okay? So once it's in like this, you can push it in and then you just push it through. And you can see how much burnt on carbon is actually removed by that process. Alright, fair bit is after coming off there. That's just being removed from the barrel. You can turn your flannel patch around the other way and you can do the second barrel. Lovely. The inside of your barrels should look like mirrors now at this stage. Nice and clean and shiny and bright. You can see just how much dirt was removed from the barrels by that one patch alone. Next we have our nice soft head, okay? And that's just really for polishing the inside of your barrels, okay? So we can take the copper head off and we can put our soft head back onto the handle now. And we'll just polish the inside of these barrels, okay? Just give it a nice clean. It kind of removes any fine bits of debris or grease or oil that's left at the end of the flannel patch. Perfect. Hold it up to the light, two lovely mirrors. Okay, perfect. Next, we're going to move on to our chokes. You also have some ejectors down here as well. We won't do that, we might do that another day. Zoom in close so you can see exactly which component parts, the spring and the pin and the ejector itself that we remove. But today we'll just do the chokes and then we'll add on the ejectors another day, okay? So we'll unscrew our chokes. Sometimes you'll need a choke key to remove your chokes. Other times like this, they have nice grips on them and you can just remove them fairly easily. You'll want to clean your chokes every 3 months, okay? Maybe 6 months if you don't shoot it too regularly, but you never want to leave it for a long period of time without cleaning your chokes. And what will happen is all the burnt on carbon will build up behind it onto the treads of the chokes, and then your multi-choke gun will become a fixed choke gun. You will now no longer be able to remove the chokes from your gun. They'll be stuck, and it's a long, drawn out, complicated process in trying to remove those chokes then after that. So you always want to keep your chokes clean, especially if it rains. When you hold the gun up into shooting into rain, the rain will tend to get in behind your chokes, and then your treads can become quite rusty. So you always want to keep your chokes in check. Okay. Sometimes you'll find a little bit of stubborn, hard to remove, burnt on carbon there. You can get your copper bristled brush, and you can see that's just breaking it up nice and soft now. Again, copper is a soft metal. It's not going to do any damage to the hard steel. Alright, and it's just a scrubbing action to remove the burnt on carbon on those tough spots. Give it as many goes as you need until you remove it all. If you're going to do a job, do it right. And that's nice now like that. That's perfect. Okay. Lovely. And we'll do the other one as well. And then we also want to clean inside the barrel where we've removed these chokes from. Now these choke tubes weren't particularly dirty. I've seen much worse than this. So whenever you get a new gun, whether it's second hand or new, always familiarise yourselves with the chokes straight away. Okay? Any issues like dirt or rust, get onto it quick. Okay, there's those two chokes now, nice and clean. So we want to clean the inside of the barrels, just where we've removed those choke tubes from. I use my little finger for this. It fits nicely into these 12 gauge shotgun barrels. And it goes right to the end, and you can actually feel the tip where the choke would end. And you're just putting your finger in and spinning it and removing all of that dirt that's in there. The Brunox is a great spray for this. It does everything. Okay. And those two are nice. Now before you put your chokes back in, you want to grease them up slightly, okay? You want to put a little bit of grease on the treads and also the rest of the body. And then you want to kind of rub it in, okay? And spread it around. You never want to put your chokes in dry because they can kind of tend to stick. You always want to make sure they're nice and greased up, and that way they'll come out easier next time. Alright, and we'll just put these back in. Hand tight will do. You don't want to put it in too tight, just hand tightness. Perfect, and the same on the next one. Just covering the treads and the body of the choke that goes into the barrel. And then afterwards, when they're in, any excess can just be wiped away. And there we go. Now what I like to do is I like to use a clean cloth, and I like to give the barrels a good spray on the outside. Okay, this is going to protect against moisture and things like that. So if you have your gun in storage, you'll want some sort of chemical protective agent along the barrels of your gun. Protect any kind of humidity or moisture in the air, especially if you live near to the coast. You want to keep your guns in check and give them a nice coating of some sort of chemical spray, okay? And that's going to just keep them protected. Alright, we'll also take any dirt and grime off as well. And then back down here, we'll do the ejectors another day, but any old grease you just want to remove, okay? So find a nice clean patch and just kind of remove any of the old grease, okay? Very good. Now you'll notice I'm not actually putting my hands on the barrels at this stage. I'm using a cloth to keep my fingers off it, so the only part that's touching the barrels is the cloth. Alright. These are nice. I like to use it again after I've put the grease through the chokes. I like to feed the soft-headed brush again. If there's any grease that comes from the chokes onto the inside of the barrel, it's going to be removed with this. Okay. Now anywhere there's metal you'll want to clean. So, a little bit of metal on the far end here. Just give it a quick clean. You can hold the wood, that's fine. You can see a little bit of dirt and carbon coming off. Just the metal parts, and also the outside of the gun as well. Just anywhere there's metal, again, you don't want any water or corrosion to take effect. And the trigger as well. Okay, and once that's done, now we'll just put a bit of grease on your hinge. You'll notice on your hinge you have a pin and then a pivot point here. A little bit of grease there, a little bit of grease there, and a little bit of grease on the face. And just spread it around the face of that. You can see the clean metal. It's a shiny clean metal. You want to coat all of that part. Anywhere there's metal touching metal, that's where you want to have a little bit of grease. And especially on the pivot points there, the pin and this little hinge down here. And then just spread it all around. Okay, very good. Now we'll clip it back into place. Put our far end back on. And we'll want to work the action a few times just to make sure everything works together and smooth, and that the grease on the hinge will actually get a good spread. And then again, wipe off any excess. I'll give it once more, just a little bit of spray, and then clean it off. Any grease now is removed. And voila, we have a lovely clean gun. Perfect.